So one thing that was brought to my attention recently that I should have known, but that's neither here nor there, is that people are either jumping on or jumping back into Moon Knight with the Marc Spector Moon Knight title. That being said, there are some things in the recent past that you may need to know going forward with Moon Knight and this particular run. And wouldn't you know it, I got a few minutes to run down some things that you might need to know in the coming issues. And for that, we're going to start at the previous run, Moon Knight Fist of Khonshu, with issue number 1, where Moon Knight meets Achilles Fairchild, this drug dealer who is dealing this dangerous drug made of actual fairy dust. This particular drug is hard to wean off because if you stop using it, you die. We can't have that. But the other key person is Fairchild's right-hand woman, Carver. She was in the Roxxon corporate military, and he found her coming back from Vanaheim, one of the 9 realms, during the War of the Realms. And as you see, she carries a big sword. And then, as we jump ahead to issue number 3, we find out that not only is the sword big, but the sword is supernatural. And we'll get details about the sword later, but let's just say there is power in this sword, enough power to kill the Midnight Mission. That's the living building that was Moon Knight's headquarters. And now with the building, the Midnight Mission being destroyed, and the people, the Midnight Mission, becoming fugitives, Moon Knight's back is against the wall. So much so that we see the return of Stephen Grant and Jake Lockley to try and counsel Mark on what to do in this troubling time. But that still doesn't work, as we see this underground encounter bring forth the Wild Dog. And you know how much I like talking about the Wild Dog. And by the end of issue 4, Moon Knight decides that it's time for he and Fairchild to go one-on-one. And that brings us to issue number 5, where this one-on-one is going to take place. And with Jake and Steven at his side, it looks like Moon Knight has things well in hand. That is, until you see this grin come across Fairchild's face. And that's when we come to the realization that there is something different about Fairchild. He's not some ordinary man. But all this time, Moon Knight has been dealing with an Asgardian. Yes, there's an Asgardian drug dealer. Say that out loud. But of course, this is comics, and this is a superhero story, and the villain decides that he is not going to kill Moon Knight right off, which makes sense, because if you kill Moon Knight, Khonshu will just bring him back. So he wants to leave him clinging to life. That way, Moon Knight won't be a problem going forward. Or at least, those were his plans. But the villain leaving the hero alive never works out like that. And once Moon Knight gets patched up and back on his feet, he and the team are going to start taking from Achilles Fairchild. And this is when things get interesting. In issue number 8 of Fist of Khonshu, Moon Knight goes to fight Carver, and it appears that Carver has killed Moon Knight. And it's here we get a flashback to Vanaheim, and we find out that the sword is named Gunnar, the Hoarding Blade. And it basically takes souls, but it needs someone to wield it, and it makes a deal with Carver. If she wields it, it will save her life on Vanaheim. And back in present day, we have Moon Knight, whose soul is now inside of Gunnar, and he's getting to know Gunnar and his purpose and his relationship with Carver. And he also gets to know Gunnar's real form. Yes, there's a dragon inside of this soul-sucking sword. Gunnar's only problem is that he can't have Mark's soul. Mark's soul belongs to someone else. Because sure, he's a soul-sucking dragon, but he is no god. So while Carver thinks she ended Moon Knight, she did not. That said, both Gunnar and Carver now belong to Moon Knight. Then we skip ahead to issue number 9, where Fairchild is attempting to reach Carver on the phone, but he doesn't reach Carver. He reaches Moon Knight and the Midnight Mission, and they're going to pay him a visit. Then we get to issue number 10, where Fairchild decides it's time to get out of here. Unfortunately for him, there is no getting out of here with Moon Knight, as Moon Knight has taken everything away from Fairchild. Well, almost everything. Fairchild knows what sword this is that Moon Knight is wielding, and he is not trying to stick around. And what we get at the end is Fairchild sneaking into this building, which looks very ominous, wink wink. And we see that somehow Fairchild has gotten away from Moon Knight and his vengeance. So those were the high points of Moon Knight Fist of Khonshu and some notes you may need moving forward. Got any additional questions? Let me know. I may have answers.